Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And I felt the need to make a video about this topic, making circles and articles and blogs and all of these things last night after that brutal loss to the Ottawa Senators at the Rock. New Jersey Devils coach Sheldon Keefe had some pointed remarks in his post-game press conference. In case you somehow missed it and are living under a rock, take a listen.
We're in a fight, and hopefully that, gets us in that playoff mentality, 10, 11 games out, and we carry that into playoffs. So, obviously the results are tough, but we're in a fight here, and we're not going to back down.
Kovacevic just mentioned to us that he thinks the team kind of needs to have that playoff mentality going down the stretch here. Is that something
Kovacevic just needs to play better. That would help. Yeah.
So I actually was at the game last night. I was in my car a few minutes from my house when I heard this. I have it playing on my way home, and I heard this, and I was like, whoa. And a lot of people were talking about it last night, and like I said earlier today and throughout the day, there's tweets and articles and blogs, and it seems to have taken on a life of its own. And so I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts about it after processing it all for a little bit. I will start off by saying I have absolutely no issue whatsoever with Sheldon Keefe said. No issue with it at all. People are running with this as if amidst his post-game press conference, Sheldon Keefe just out of nowhere was like, blah, 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 and Johnathan Kovacevic needs to play better. That's not what happened whatsoever. It was directly in response to a reporter's question talking about something that Kovacevic said, and I have no issue with it. I don't think he overly criticized him. I thought he gave a fair assessment, and I think it is fair to have said Kovacevic just needs to play better. Furthermore, I will say that could apply to almost anyone on the team. I don't think Keefe's response was anything ridiculous or what people are trying to make it out to be. I think he gave his honest opinion in the moment, and I do believe he would have had a very, very similar reaction if a reporter brought up another player's quote. Outside of a few players, and let's be honest, this entire team could be playing better, even our best guys. And in no particular order, I would say our best players of the past few weeks have been Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, and Jake Allen. So those are the guys I would say that had they brought up a quote from one of them, that Keefe probably wouldn't have said it. But the reality is not that any of those guys are playing bad. They've been our best players. But everyone can play better to make this overall team better. But those would be the three guys I would say that may have been exempt from that sort of outburst, for lack of a better term. But almost any other player that could have been mentioned, I think Keefe's response would have been very similar. Now, Kovacevic has struggled a little bit. Yeah, he's had some bad plays in the past week or so. He has taken some of those delay of game penalties, and I just think overall he has struggled a little bit. But that's not to single him out. And like I said, there's tons of guys that I think would have gotten a similar response from Keefe. I would like to believe that Johnathan Kovacevic is a professional enough to understand and be willing to tell you himself that he needs to play better. This is not singling him out. This is not, kicking him to the curb. I'm a huge Johnathan Kovacevic guy. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that earlier on in the season, a few weeks into the season, I declared that this man needs to be re-signed. This is going back into October. I said something along the lines of, I've never fallen in love with a new player so quickly. Love Johnny Kovacevic. I'm ecstatic that we signed him. A lot of people have been complaining about that because they're very short-sighted and live in the moment. And when I say live in the moment, I mean like they're angrily tweeting on their couch, on a shift-by-shift basis. I don't live in that world. I try to be fair. I think I am fair most of the time, and I try to be logical about things. And so I do think the Kovacevic signing was great. I wanted to see it back in October. Glad that all panned out and that Johnny will be here for the next 5 years. But I don't think anyone's above fair criticism, and I think what Keefe said, given that the quote was relayed to him by the reporter, I think it was a very fair thing for Keefe to say. And like I said, I think he would have said something similar about almost any other player that a reporter brought up. Now, with that being said, I am typically very pro-player in terms of this whole kind of media, right? I'm not a traditional media member, but a YouTube channel is certainly a form of media in this new world we live in where, any idiot like your boy Ace has a voice, whether it's on, social media platforms, blogs, video content, and all the different platforms. Everyone has a voice, and so this is kind of shaping the world of new media. And as a person that actively makes videos in this new media world, I am typically very pro player. I don't like singling out guys or bashing particular guys. You know, when a guy's struggling, like what do you get out of kicking him when he's down? Like everyone knows he's struggling. You know, you don't need to highlight it. And I think stuff like that is a big part of the reason why many players hate the quote unquote media, because they just, you know, look for things to kind of, you know, whether it's clickbait or whatever it is, clickbaity headlines, and they try to kind of make situations into something that it's not. And in my opinion, this whole incident is a complete nothing, in my opinion. People looking way too far into it. Way too far into it. A reporter relayed a quote. Keefe gave his honest opinion and left the stage. Now, Sheldon Keefe has been very mild-mannered and kind of reserved in his post-game press conferences all year, even after some tragic losses. And myself and a bunch of other people were like, we would like to see more fire out of this guy. And to be honest, he had his poker face on all year, but last night finally broke him. And he couldn't contain it anymore. After he heard the quote, he said what he said. Now, to defend Sheldon Keefe, for the people saying that Sheldon Keefe is in the wrong for this or this, that, and the other thing, he absolutely is not. He is the head coach of a hockey team, and he said nothing crazy. He said that a player needs to play better. How soft has society overall gotten in the past few years? How soft has fans gotten? How soft? This is something bad? Keefe is a bad man for saying this? Get out of here. He said nothing. He was frustrated, and he made a remark that he felt was perfectly fine, and I am perfectly fine with it. I have zero issue with what Keefe said. And again, I'm a very pro-player guy. I don't like criticizing individual players for the most part overly, and we only have our beautiful game because of the players. I prioritize players over everything because that is what we're all here for. We're fans of the game, and the game is played by players. There's no group of people more important to our sport than the players. Never forget that. And that's why players are what made me fall in love with the sport. Watching players, talking to players, meeting players. Players are what markets the game and keeps it going forward. And so I'm always a fairly pro-player guy. And so if I thought it was wrong, the situation, I'd be the first one to defend players. I really would. But I don't think there was anything wrong with what Keefe said. And it is what it is. And there's frustrations all around. And back to Keefe, for the people saying that this was terrible by Keefe, shame on you. Furthermore, I've seen videos of people talking about Keefe shouldn't have a job. What planet do you people live on? What planet do you live on? Sheldon Keefe is one of the only reasons we're even in a playoff spot right now. And again, I hate to be whatever you want to call it. The reality is, last night's game against the Senators, we had no less than 5 or 6 guys that would not be in most NHL teams' lineups. Let that sink in. Sheldon Keefe is out there coaching a team with 5 or 6 players that would not crack most NHL lineups. Think about that. I believe that Keefe is frustrated. We've had our struggles this season. The injuries didn't help. I do believe that he was kind of left out at sea without a life jacket at the trade deadline. I believe Keefe wanted more and could have used more help. And here we are. And so he is coaching a roster with a ton of holes, constantly having to go up there after painful losses and get needled by reporters, this, that, and the other thing. And I think he just spoke his mind. For people to try to paint him as some sort of bad guy for this, I think is ridiculous. I think Johnny Kovacevic is a big boy. I think he could personally handle it, and I don't think he should be offended in any way. All of the players across the board should take a look in the mirror and say, we need to do better. I'm sure part of Keefe's frustration is that I'm sure he's coaching the team to the best of his ability and telling them what to do on a daily basis and trying to get the message across. And at some point, he probably feels like a parent dealing with children. You say the same thing over and over again, and they keep not listening. I mean, he could only do so much as the head coach. I think people need to realize that. He can only do so much. He is not out there playing the games. At some point, the players have to go out there and perform. And right now, he has a roster with a ton of holes. That is the fact. It's been a frustrating season for the fans, the players, the coaching staff, maybe management. I don't really know what to make of them at the moment. But in the end, there's a way to fix all this. Winning. Winning cures all. Start winning hockey games, and none of this shit matters. None of it matters at all. It's all background noise silliness created by the media. That's all that this is. This is a nothing story, in my opinion. Keefe did nothing wrong. Kovacevic shouldn't be insulted. Life goes on. We're all adults here. The team's struggling. Someone made a comment to Keefe. He gave his opinion. And it's unfortunate for Kovacevic that he was the guy served up to Keefe, but I think he would have had a similar reaction no matter whose name was mentioned. I truly believe that. But it is what it is. Everyone has to do better. Everyone has to do better, and it's a nothing story. I do blame the media for kind of running wild with it, and, whatever you want to call them, fans, pundits, all these people on all these platforms. Like I said, everyone has a voice, and making it a way bigger deal than it is. This is a nothing story, in my opinion. Completely nothing, and the fact that it's kind of become one is ridiculous. I am hoping that Keefe and Kovacevic have laughed about this behind closed doors because it's a complete nothing story that people are just running wild with. It'd be something different if Keefe just randomly singled him out amidst his post-game press conference out of nowhere, but that's not what happened whatsoever. You saw the video. You saw how it all played out. I have no problem with any of it. Love Johnny Kovacevic. I personally love Sheldon Keefe. I think he's done a very good job with a very subpar roster with tons of holes. That is the reality. And with the injuries on top of it, let's be real, guys. With lots of other coaches here, we would be nowhere near where we are right now, and Sheldon Keefe has us in a playoff spot. His defensively responsible system has us playing low-event, responsible hockey and giving us a chance to grind out these 2-1, 3-2 type games. Without him, I think we are far worse off. And so for the people calling for Sheldon Keefe, shame on you. Shame on you. You do not watch the game very well. You do not. Keefe is not the problem. The problem is the roster is flawed, and with the injuries and all the holes, we're dealing with an uphill battle right now. It is what it is. But I think a lot of the frustration stems from the lack of help brought in. I think that's just another layer added to it. But it is what it is. I think this is nothing. Can't we all just get along? I think it's complete nonsense. Shame on the media for doing this. Shame on the people perpetuating this stuff. And really shame on the people calling for Keefe's job. Definitely not the problem whatsoever. But that's what uneducated people do. They just like to, call for coaches' jobs, this, that, and the other thing. Keefe is not the problem whatsoever. And I'm hoping he's a big part of the solution going forward for this team to finally get their stuff together. Whenever that happens. Hopefully I'm still alive on this planet to witness it, because I need to see the Devils win another cup more than anything. But let me know what you thought about all of this in the comments. But I just felt like I had to make this video because tons of people were commenting on some of my other videos about it, and I'm like, let me just do a kind of in-depth explanation of how I look at this whole thing. A complete nothing burger. But let me know. Throw it out there in the comments. Anything, everything Devils hockey, throw it out there in the comments. I love talking to all of you. The New Jersey Devils with another massive one at the Rock tomorrow against the Canucks. And it is as close to a must-win as possible for a game that's not truly a must-win. It's as close as it gets. Need points. Need points. But I'll be back soon. Tons of things in the works. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go